Welcome to the grim, lawless 23rd century, following the fall of USGov and mass depopulation of major cities at the hands of the multi-trillionaire DeHuberton family. Baptized in radioactive hellfire, a rare mutation makes Turbo a fiercely pumped scrapper, haunted by specters from her past, surviving the post-apocalyptic wasteland one deathmatch pit fight at a time. But when she rescues the stunning trophy girl, the unlikely duo are thrust into a harrowing odyssey, evading marauding berserkers at every turn on their way to the ultimate showdown as they uncover the horrific truth behind the fall of humanity.
Hey Jake, how you doing this morning? Those birds in the background I hear?
Yeah, morning, Kurt. I'm outdoors. I'm actually set up in my car, and I was hoping to set up my car as a little broadcasting studio today, but that didn't seem to work. I'm actually out of the house. I don't have access to my house. Some stuff is being done in my house today, so I'm mobile, and I had this super cool setup where I took this little adjustable tripod thing, one of those little they look like little spider legs.
Yeah.
And I stuck it on my steering wheel, and it shot right down into my lap where my sketchbook was, and I was drawing.
Sweet.
And it was framed up just right, but the video on Riverside wasn't transmitting because I guess either the Wi-Fi signal isn't working or some other technical problem, and so we're just I'm just audio today, and so you're going to be carrying the video, and maybe just take a couple of cool pictures in post, but I'm just going to be an empty ethereal voice that's coming in over the speaker.
Now everybody's gonna know what it's like when with Jake's head in my voice. I mean, Jake's voice in my head.
I'm haunting your dreams.
Oh,
and welcome to everybody else to the Making of TurboPit-fighter podcast, where we are making a comic book. Usually I'm at my desk drawing something, and Kurt is inking, but today, what are you working on over there?
Well, I have page 7 and 8 printed out for the lettering and also the jaggedy text boxes for the narrator. So I only have 7 and 8 right now. Knowing that we were going into this, I figured, we might want to do a shorter episode if it comes down to that. And just to kind of do some talking about what's going on in the world. Let me just reach back here and grab something.
Yeah, so, breaking news.
Well, far from breaking news. We're definitely not that breaking. So we were going to have TC Pescatori and Loco Gonzalez on today. And of course, I always reach out a couple days ahead of time to give them the prepping and how to enter, Riverside for the podcast. And he sent back a email saying, unfortunately, he's tied up in the, I guess we just should call it a Scout Comics fiasco. And so doesn't feel like he should get online and, just even mention or chat about it. And on top of that, my Kothar book cover illustration is at the Tallyville Frame Shop, and also our good friend Pat Higgins, who did Pulp Bites, who we've also had on here, was able to squeeze some information out of him. He really just didn't have a lot in what was going on, but it seems to be. I just watched something this morning that somebody posted a tweet or an Instagram post saying that it had been a year, he'd received no royalties payments, and every time he reached out, nobody would respond. So it seems like there was a great level of failure in communication is one part of it. And things are getting sorted out, but it's all in pieces at this point. So we're not the authority to be making any comments beyond just, I don't know, assessment predictions, what we've experienced. Because, when we were there back in 97, there was the Jacob Javits show, and I lost all three of my publishers, from there. But one of the good things that I felt back in those days was, I was up meeting with them at least 4 or 5 times, if not more, a year. And so I was handing in work and they were handing me a check. I would never hand work until I got a check, so it was pretty solid that way. But have you heard anything about the Scout Comics?
No, and just so folks know, in case you don't, Scout Comics is kind of like a mid-tier indie publishing company. They're not one of the big ones like Image or Dark Horse, but they're not that small. They have a lot of creators. They have a lot of books out, and not sure what their payment system is, royalty system, nor what their sales are. Which is the key to everything. But suffice it to say that there's trouble in paradise, it sounds like. And, it can be really hard if you're, especially if you're a creative type and you're trying to run, a publishing company. That's why, Marvel Comics, if they had Martin Goodman, he was just a business guy and he wore a suit and he made deals. And he didn't have anything to do with writing, art, nothing. He was just like, he was just like the, distribution guy, working the phones, working the companies, working the printers, working the banks and the financing and all that. And it's a full-time job, So, I wish everybody involved the best, but, there's also got to be, some realistic expectations when you're an indie creator. You hook up with an indie publisher. You gotta have some realistic expectations. They're not making a mint, and if they have to share, the lion's share of the sales with you, and just take some kind of cut for everything that they contribute, there's not a lot to go around. If the sales are only a couple thousand, let's say, we're talking about hobby. We're not talking about work. So and if you do well with sales, and the sales are like 5,000, 10,000, really healthy, maybe you can sustain, a living, or maybe you can cut back your hours at your other job. But this is it's all part of the journey, and the real good thing about being a comic book creator is once you have a book finished, all you got to do is reprint and reprint and reprint. It's not a lot of work to just do that, as long as somebody's interested in buying it, to just keep selling copies. So you can keep making the new one and the new one. And if you have a cumulative body of work, and there's genuine interest on the street, then, you can start to do better and better.
Well, one of the things that I tow as an opinion is publishers really don't exist the way they did 20-something years ago and before. Publishers really took care of the artist. That was their responsibility. And I'm not speaking just for comic books. I'm speaking for pre-internet, let's say. And therefore they became gatekeepers. They were tastemakers. They, were only going after, something that they were going to be able to not only recuperate costs, but get money in profit. But they would also take chances too. There was always, if you had a publishing house of, let's say, 100 authors, 5 of them might be carrying the financial load. And then, the rest of them were not only struggling, but they were growing. They would come out with book after book and reviews, and they do blah, 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 blah. But the thing that also came out about Scout is that they're heavily using Whatnot app for all of their promotions. And it really answered the question for me, which was, I never saw anything about Scout Comics from their end in promotion on YouTube, Instagram, which are basically the only 2 socials that I cruise on. But they were completely absorbed by that venue. And now you have a lot more experience with Whatnot than I do. But I think that's a kind of weird way to consider somebody publishing you. That to me is more like promoting. So they're distributing me, but they're promoting me. So once again, I think things are definitely falling out of the past in lines of what are some of the expectations we grew up with. And now these things are being reformed.
Well, yeah, a lot of people that are listening might not know what Whatnot is, but a lot of people that are listening might also have grown up, during the Image years, when they were, a healthy, alternative to the bigs, Marvel and DC, and also got to put Dark Horse in there too. There was always a possibility to have a hit book. To quit your day job, to just take off and, draw all day and do cons and all that and, get motorcycles and go across the country. We've heard these famous stories, but, it's a lot of that ends up being a flash in the pan. Really the people that just keep their head down and produce, like Spawn, are the real success stories. They end up getting movie deals and stuff. So, there's been a lot of interesting twists and turns. We are in an age today of just like incredible technological possibility and, so many different ways to, reach out to the public. But, we still have these gatekeepers, and I'll put Whatnot up there too for folks that don't know. Whatnot is a pretty interesting app that came along in the last couple of years. Just imagine if you were able to live stream eBay, and sell stuff, and then you just like ship everything after the live stream is over, and people are buying stuff. Whatnot has some cool tools. One of the great tools that they have is they just take care of all of the billing. So as soon as somebody places a bid, the bidder's credit card is charged, and your money is good. All you got to do is fulfill that order within 24 hours. But Whatnot is also dabbling in the world of publishing, and that can be very iffy. And Whatnot is also doing all kinds of special broadcasts. They have celebrity broadcasts. But day in, day out, Whatnot is an app that you just log on and you see all these little boxes, and those are like comic shops, or those are comic dealers, and they're selling comics one by one. Sometimes they sell records and vinyl, and sometimes they sell original art, and it could be anything, jewelry, actually sneakers, like collectible sneakers has been growing and growing. So you never really know what's happening. But I'm just logging on right now. I see there's a live right now with 25 people on there. They got some Sheena and some Jungle comics, and so you're attracted to all these covers, to click the button. But then when you get there, it's just people placing bids, buying comics. Could be $1, could be $5, could be $20. I've seen some incredible sales, with like the latest cosplay chick with holographic, variant covers, and I've just seen those go for like $50 and $100 a piece, and I'm scratching my head. But it's another app. It's another way of doing business, and it sounds like Scout Comics might have put a lot of their eggs in the whatnot basket.
Yes, I think that, like I said, is half of the controversy. So even their attention, in other words, they were heavily using, and this is what whatnot app really is a part of the streaming platform. So you can stream your own channel like Twitch, and obviously whatnot. But that maybe they were, this speculation on my part, but maybe they were really trying to get their artist and writer stable to participate from their own channels and really create, a frenzy, which would be a logical and maybe a very good, proofing of why you would want to invest and jump in and support this new comic. Issue one kind of thing.
I gotta tell you a story. One time I logged onto whatnot just to see what's going on, because I do plan to I have a couple of boxes of comics that I don't care about,
Yeah,
and I want to sell them to raise money. And I was inching towards going live on whatnot, but I'm dreading doing like an hour
fulfillment.
of sales and then fulfillment. So I bought all my bags. I bought all my my mailers. I mean, I bought all my my bags and boards, but I didn't buy my Gemini mailers or whatever brand mailers yet. So once I buy my Gemini mailers, I'll be ready to go. But honestly, I'm just gonna wait for summertime when I'm not teaching. So and then and then start messing around. But in the meantime, just keeping my pulse on whatnot. I went on, and this was something I saw that was very sad. So how you go to like a con and you see a creator there, and they have all their stuff, and they're like, hey, sometimes they're just like chilling, and sometimes they're drawing, sometimes they're eating, but when they're like standing up and they're like trying to grab you as you're walking by, like, hey, how's it going today? So there's that kind of like sad element where they're really trying to push. And I was on whatnot, and somebody was doing a live, and they had everything set up, and they had and they were selling a T-shirt, and they had all their merch, and it was all set up on a table, just as if they were at a con, except they were on whatnot, and there was no activity, and I was the only one in there. And as soon as I come in there, they're like, "Hey, DeHuberton, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh God, what did I just walk into?" And the guy was there with his wife, and it was just like,
wow.
So you can imagine the cringe factor there.
Yeah.
I mean, when I do a con, I'm just like, if somebody makes eye contact with me, I'm like, hi. Otherwise, go have fun, do whatever. Like, I can draw, I can sort out my stuff, but so whatnot. It's the same thing in real life. Like, it's not a magic bullet that's going to, that's going to fix all your problems. But I think it's a great tool if you have a lot of comics or records to sell or some kind of like memorabilia thing. I imagine there have been celebs that have done really well for themselves. Just like blowing out all their collectible stuff, and whatnot sends out a a broadcast email promoting it, because I remember like John Kenny Steppenwolf or some singer guy, and it's like, wow, what kind of cool vinyl are they getting rid of? Are somebody selling a guitar or something, so so that's the deal and whatnot. But at the end of the day, publishers today, you have to be resourceful. You got to use any and all tools, channels, apps. Find a way to reach an audience, and I don't care if that is pushing a baby carriage down the street. You just gotta, at the end of the day, just find your buyers. And one of the best things to do that with is just word of mouth, because your comic is good, right? And then everybody hears about it, and then they want to get a copy. We've been talking to creators for weeks and months now, and we hear some people that do a little bit of legwork, and they stop into comic shops. They might drop off 10 or 20 copies and do a consignment thing, They might, ask if they want to buy them for, a wholesale price, and then, then the shop owns them and they turn around and sell them over time. There's a lot of ways to do it. What I used to do was I would bring in my printed comics and I would say, hey, I'll give you a wholesale price on these if you want to buy, like, let's say 20, 25 copies, and then I'll just take store credit right now and I'll walk out with some graphic novels or something. I care.
Yeah.
Walk out with some Jeff Darrow, some hard boiled or whatever. So we're not trying to advise people on what the best route is, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be printing and publishing. We're going to be going on the crowdsourcing sites. We're going to be tabling at cons. We have our YouTube channel, which you're on right now. We're on a couple of socials. Although we're probably in the age group where we're more on like Facebook and Instagram than TikTok and Snapchat. But I'm open to maybe I'll like hire one of my daughters to like make an account for me or something. I mean, I honestly got thrown off of TikTok. What the first post I made, so I don't know what I did wrong.
What?
Yeah. I was talking about like charter schools and political stuff, and next thing you know, I got like you have violated our community standards, and I think like somebody on the other side made a complaint. They're like, oh, we don't want this guy talking about that.
Yeah, it's best to go tread gently into new platforms and talk about the cute kittens and the new pair of shoes you bought and the comic books you're reading and the television you know what I mean? And if you have to sideways in some political stuff, I mean, I guess give it a try. But
personally, my best advice, honestly, it's just if you're an artist, maybe you're a writer, so this wouldn't apply to you, or maybe it does in another way. But just spend your time making like an undeniable cover or pin-up that really, really just has nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Like if you could do that, then Then
what do you mean nothing wrong with it? Like you're just talking about the professionalism of it, or it's not?
Yeah, spend 2 weeks on a piece.
Yes, you've talked about this
every
before.
bit of polish on there, right? Because that will
redraw it a couple times.
Yes, exactly. Redo it. The people don't know the Mona Lisa was done once and then twice, and it was like 7 or 9 years apart.
Yeah.
So work on your craft, because nothing really helps. Promotion is necessary, but nothing is a better promoter than having just like a great quality product.
That's true.
Everybody wants it, and all they got to do is see somebody else have it,
or let alone the next big thing. I mean, that's comic books primarily live in a speculative market, so. I think the number one reason everybody buys a comic book is obviously by the visual look of it. Does it fall into my wheelhouse? Is this a Savage Sword of Conan black and white book? If so,
with that, let's get a little bit into TurboPit-fighter because it's a great point. Like Kurt and I, we're working on something that we love. But then, the question is it original? Are you just like, slipping into a genre and doing more of the same? Because, if you have something that you're bringing to the table that hasn't been around before, or maybe a combination of things that haven't been around before, then you kind of get this crossover appeal, just comic people in general, retailers that are looking for something that'll sell. Distributors that are looking for good content, you could check off a lot of boxes. And what we set out to do is we both love sci-fi, and we both love classic black and white indie comics. We both like the old aesthetic. We love pulp. We love the exploitation genres, the heavy duty on the action, and so we set out to make this post-apocalyptic story featuring a muscular female protagonist, Turbo, who lives in a world where everything's gone to hell, and she's, but there are, plenty of people surviving. There are pit fights happening all the time, but we have woven ourselves a world, where there's various characters like the Trophy Girl and Mr. Ike, and some bad guys. We got the Unbeknownst One, the Hate Breeders, and we're, trying to lay out pages and try to weave a story that, is interesting, captivating, get people on the hook, and then also delivers a visual punch, with some real eye candy and some page flipping. You want to motivate people to turn the page and turn the page and turn the page and stay with you on this. So with that, I just wanted to give a short report to Kurt on, I'm working, as soon as we get done with the teaser, I'm working on page 17, and I've already started to, 16 actually. I'm already starting to, no wait, I've done 17, hold on. 18, yeah, so I'm in the middle of page 19 once I get back to my desk. But I already started laying out page 20 on a pad in roughs, and I think I sent you a photo of that. If you have that in your email, you could maybe pop it up on the screen. And what I'm doing right now, since I'm just in my car with a sketchbook, I have my blue pencil and my regular pencil, is I'm trying to scout ahead on the next couple of pages and see who are the characters that I'm going to have to draw, because I don't want to, just start drawing them and designing them at the same time. That's a pain in the ass. If a character is going to be in more than, one panel or then you might want to think about it a little bit, like give them a little bit of interesting, costume or an aesthetic. Think about it, not in 5 minutes. I mean, come on. And then, am I introducing any characters that are going to be around a while? Because if I do, I want to do like a model sheet of them, and that's the perfect thing to do when you're just sitting there sketching. And that also goes for backgrounds, right? I'm going to be drawing, this kind of like compelling scene that happens when Sister Ray is making her last stand against a horde of RM soldiers that are just piling in to the church rectory. And she's going to be, blowing the whole thing sky high. So that is going to take place over 1, 2, 3, 4.5 pages, right? It's going to be happening inside that church rectory. So, what does that mean? Well, I'm going, that's where you're going to be, laying out the design in your head, so you have like a 3D spatial idea of it. Do some research. Is this going to have stained glass windows? Is there going to be an altar? I have to have giant curtains because there's curtain rods. That's part of the story. So what are they going to look like? So I could be sketching that. I mean, that could be a half an hour just sketching all that stuff out to be able to put it on the page when I'm doing the sequential art. There's also going to be a glider contraption that Turbo's going to be young Turbo's going to be wearing, and she's going to be catapulted into the sky. So, I got to draw a catapult, so that can happen. Then we got, we're going to transition back to older Turbo, 24-year-old Turbo, and they're going to be pursued by a car. And so I need to design, and that car is going to be around for 1, 2, 3, 2.5 pages before it gets blown to smithereens. So, no, actually, a page and a half. So, I need a couple of different angles on that car. And, I'm excited to to go look at some references, because that's where I plug into Road Warrior, and I want to see like how are they building those buggies and those like those war machine cars, what could that look like in the future? So I'm just thinking ahead here. They're also going to pull into this kind of like repair station, in a tunnel, in like some kind of like cave or some like a mountainside or something like that. And we're going to be finishing out page 28, page 29 in that setting, before they hit the road. And then page 30 and 31 and 32, I already did some character design. We didn't put it in the turbo teaser, but I have this pit-fighter guy and his entourage, which is a guy with slick back hair and this, like hot-looking Latina chick. And so I've designed them already on a sketch. So some of the work I was thinking ahead, even before now. But this is like my to-do list right now. And if you have a to-do list on the first page of your sketchbook, then whenever your mind is blank, and you're just like, okay, I have like 20 minutes to sit down on the couch and sketch right now. Am I going to spend my 20 minutes like thinking about what to draw? Am I going to go on DeviantArt and flip through my updates and see, some pictures? Or can I just like take my to-do list and just grab, and work efficiently, just grab something on my to-do list and then, start sketching that out. So, if you want to be a pro and get into a good workflow and, maximize your time, these are things that I would spend a lot of time, just reinventing the wheel every time out and just say, oh yeah, I'm doing my pages, but then I get to a point I'm like, oh God, now I have to sit down with a scrapbook and start designing a character, and then that stops you. That slows you down. If you have that ready to go in a folder, you just pull it out and say, okay, have my character, have the design. How am I going to situate them in this page, on this page? So, so there's that. What if you're the writer, though? If you're the writer, you're thinking ahead too, because you might have your story. You might have like the whole Marvel method in your head, what's going to happen in this comic, but when you're laying out pages, you got to lay out each shot, each camera angle. You got to lay out all the dialogue. You have to have one page flow into the other. You got to think about the continuity of the whole book. You got to put everything in context. So, Kurt, I was thinking about when we're going to be encountering Mr. Ike in issue 2. He's coming up pretty soon. Once we get through with this battle sequence and the orphanage blows up, we're going to be meeting Mr. Ike. I have some sketches on him. We're putting him in the teaser, kind of like his character design. But you gotta make him a multi-dimensional character. Otherwise, these are just pictures of people. And so, one thing that's going to define him is that he's got troubles with his wife, and he's been banging his sister-in-law. Sister-in-law or sisters-in-law? I gotta decide.
It's got to be sisters.
And he's an
Why stop at one?
Right, exactly. And he's an extremely short guy, but he's a whiz at technology, and specifically weapons and robotics. So he's going to be coming in back into Turbo's world. When she's on the run and her van is broken down, her robot is decapitated, or his robot is out of commission. Turbo has a robot driver. So that got me thinking to, how, what Mr. Ike's value is in the story. And so, he's going to be Mr. Fix-It, and he's going to fix a lot of this stuff. But he has all this baggage, and his wife is not only trying to kill him when we encounter him on the street, but that's also got to define his character. And I was thinking about just like maybe like one throwaway line about him saying something like, man, I got troubles. I should have just settled down with a pleasure bot, a long time ago. Something to that effect. Because he's not only, a mechanic, and he can, program and repair, these kind of things. He can get them working, but he's also got this, romantic life. And I want to try to bring that bullet point into the world that Turbo's in. I don't think we have any reference to it yet, but in the backstory, and ultimately what's going to be a Substack, we're going to have all these bullet points of things that happen to the world on the way to it getting blown up. And one of them is going to be, we spoke many times about the sentients, and we spoke about the giantesses, and we spoke about the DeHubertons and how they kind of capture everything. But the pleasure bot thing. So,
hold on a second. I want to interject. Let me break your stride. One of the other things that I really love about Mr. Ike's character is he, right now, for all the characters, I think he is the only one that is alive that knows Turbo the best. So when Trophy Girl is trying to make these decisions about whether she should stay or go or how she's supposed, because she's really young and, trying to make her way in this god awful place. Mr. Ike has not only some philosophical lay down. It's also, the text that's written, for those scenes in issue 2 between Trophy Girl and Mr. Ike really reflect a lot more depth about Turbo as a character. So, it's almost like I think of like a television show where after a couple of episodes, this other detective or somebody is introduced. And over time, they actually become just as equally important in the story structure as let's say the duo detective scene, characters, So
the buddies,
yeah,
the buddies,
yeah. So I think it's a really good thing that's been built into it. So it helps us kind of maybe even get in and out of positions, if not out of positions, when you end up kind of writing into a corner.
Yeah, and so that I was just thinking about that one line. If he says, or maybe it'll be Turbo, saying something like, "I told you a long time ago to, just settle down. You
settle down with a pleasure bot."
Well, yeah, something like you could program all the pleasure bots you want,
right?
And then maybe he'll say something like, there's nothing like a real woman or something, and or maybe he'll say there's nothing like a real black woman or something.
Well, a real fiery woman, woman
right.
that their emotional conflict with you, loving and hating you at the same time, is not based on a program. It's based on actual being a human. So I love that part too about the world building that we have in Turbo. So these are exciting things these are things that I know keep both of us, but I'll speak for myself specifically. We've got 6 issues here, and you have them plotted out pretty well. But as we're making our way and you're penciling the pages, we're reigniting excitement about scenes and characters and the development and everything. But it's just, it keeps you on task. Like, I think a lot of people have, maybe not as in depth, or I hate to use the word superficial, but, it might in the beginning feel like an exciting character and story, but there's not a lot of mystery built in for you as the writer and artist. And I actually face that. I'm not that great a writer. I can come up with great scenarios. I mean, I can write magnus opus trilogies, but I never seem to create anything in resolving stuff, and even hear from you. But other people like my friends that I show my work to, they're just kind of like, yeah, man, the art's really cool and everything, but I really don't understand what's going on.
Right.
So
that's why you gotta read the word balloons, pal.
oh, I never thought of saying that. But anyhow, I just want to keep. I want to throw that boost in our signal to people, and especially if they're joining us for the first time. This might all seem we're only doing this on Sundays. We're on a DIY. We're figuring things out like podcasting and equipment and all that. And even the landscape of indie comics and promoting and selling and distributing and everything. But the most important thing that Jake and I have designed is something that I, once again, can speak wholeheartedly for myself. I can't wait to get to Sundays. I can't wait to get to Jake's house.
Yeah.
Even if Jake's house is in the car.
Yeah, and it really pays for me to have somebody to go to every week because, when I'm just waiting to pick up my takeout and I have 15 minutes to kill, I think most people are just on their phones, just doom scrolling headlines or something.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out what the dialogue is going to be on page 27, and then when I figure out the dialogue. And we have this world, where we're putting, art on paper. We're not just thinking of a story in our head. It brings you back. If we are going to bring up, the pleasure bots, there's going to be a lot of different types of robot in the future. There's going to be, battle bots or bots that are armed for weaponry. There's going to be bots that are built for driving, like Turbo has, and Turbo's Gopher is her robot. It drives and it also scans everything, and it gives her advice and statistics and everything like a Jarvis type of thing. But there's going to be robots for everything. You have to think about all this at once. So when we have the concept of the pleasure bots, this is going to tie in to the backstory, and I think that bullet point is going to be really important because I was coming up with this thing that's going to take us from the scientific discoveries of gene expression, and I have this idea in mind, I keep thinking of this DeHuberton figure. The DeHubertons are the wealthy family that kind of consolidate all the billionaire families into one family. So in the future, it'll be like the past where, everybody's intermarrying and they just become one big, royalty type, situation, like family. And and they own all the business and they have, everything in monopoly, and it's just really bad, for the end user and the people. You have nowhere else to go. But one of the DeHubertons, I nicknamed Bob Guccione DeHuberton because he's going to be this sleazy guy with a hairy chest,
man.
and he is going to be the pleasure bot guy, and that is going to be maybe a 20 or 30-year period in the timeline where the rise of pleasure bots really affects the family structure. But then it's going to get worse and worse and worse because I'm also going to have the scientists, I spoke about that scientist family, where Elevator's parents are part of it. And, they kind of live in this commune with 10 or 12 other, scientists who are all couples. And each one of them is going to isolate a gene expression in the future. And check this out, Kurt. So you know how the idea of the pleasure bot, So it's going to be used for the DeHubertons to kind of pull men away from the idea of having families or having a mate and having kids. But there's also going to be the isolation of the gene expression. I don't even know if I should call it gene expression, because do you know, like, that inherent instinctual thing that humans all have, which is a connection to your family?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So, like, if there's a fire and, there's a whole bunch of people running around, every mother just instinctively grabs their children, right? And it's just like in our genes and it's in our DNA, right? From the dawn of humankind, right? So that's what they're going to isolate, and they're going to break it. They're going to introduce a blocker or a signal blocker, so that they're not only tempting away men with pleasure bots to say, okay, why bother with women and females if you can just have a pleasure bot in your closet, or cleaning up your house at the same time. They can do light housework. Or just in the barracks, of a soldier, so that everybody goes into a booth and just, has their pleasure with a pleasure bot, and that human need is no longer a problem, right? So, but then, what about, kids? What about, everybody else? Women? What about children? So they're going to isolate this, and they're going to start putting in the water and into drugs and into into the human body these blockers, and it's going to make people no longer care. They're no longer going to have that. And anybody that is poisoned with this, or anybody that has this blocker, is just going to walk away. They're just going to be. People are just going to be. You're not going to have that bond anymore. And I think that could be a very poignant, point to bring out in a sci-fi story, because it makes us think in the present day, wow, we do have this very strong attachment to our family, and we can't help it. And even when we're arguing, with our family, it really takes a lot to break that bond, permanently. And I want people to think about that. So we're going to have that, and it will be the breakdown of the family. There will be no, I don't know, maybe you have some suggestions about, by the time turbo time comes around, how prevalent that will be. But, like, let's say the DeHubertons put it in the water, and it just gets everywhere. And then generations later, turbo's there, it's going to be, it's going to be the perfect marketing tool for the Bob Guccione DeHuberton guy.
Oh boy.
To put that in the water, and now all of a sudden everybody just wants, pleasure bots and stuff. So,
well, on that note, we've gone over the 45-minute mark, and I'm pretty happy that we were able to get you on the phone as it is, and obviously the updates and everything is good. And I just finished 7 and 8 in hand lettering. So I don't see any reason for next week to have 9 through 12 up and going. So other than finishing this back, I'm showing off the back cover you did where she's got the motorcycle over her head. That pin up. Not obviously next coming week I'll be finishing lettering. And then that following week, you and I will have copies of, let's say the rough version, the version that needs edit proofing. So I'm really excited, but we'll let these people get back to reading comics, making them if they do. Do you have anything on the out, Jake?
No, next week I should be all green lighted to draw, and I'm going to be drawing page 19. So can't wait to get back to that.
Oh, yeah.
And people should check out our other channels. We have Comics and Influence, where we do flip throughs on lush art and cool stories and sometimes weird stuff. I really threw Kurt for a loop last week.
Oh,
boy.
Jake, I can't wait to show you my Dollar Tree haul. So I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for next week. I'll show you my Dollar Tree haul.
God.
It's my new It's my new comic book store.
Really? Okay, great.
That's funny.
And then we also have our Creators That Influence channel. Indie Creator Exchange. Sorry, we have Comics That Influence and Indie Creator Exchange.
Yeah, but we have next week off. We have next week off, so there's nobody scheduled.
Which is good because we've been breakneck with that. So folks, check out our wares, and we'll see you guys in the funny papers.
All right, next time.